The Biden administration planning more changes to the asylum system to speed up the process of reviewing claims. There are reports today that the president is still considering more sweeping executive action on the border, and that could come at a later date. Sheriff Mark Dannels joins the show once again, Cochise County in Arizona. It's always good to have you on, Sheriff. I want to talk about Arizona specifically and what's happening down there in a moment, but what about these reports of asylum changes? Now, what they're saying is that Biden might issue an executive order, allow him to shut the border down once you get a number of migrants crossing, reaching 4,000 a day. So that's basically, for people who aren't following it, what was in that old, that Senate bill, right, that failed. So I don't know. Would that help?
Well, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I think I've said that on your show before. Thanks for having me again.
Yep.
I will say this. We got 3.5 years of this administration. We got 51% of Congress that has failed to prioritize our border. As a result, the loud voices from all over the country, whether it be Denver, Washington, D.C., New York City, and, of course, your border communities have been impacted for 3.5 years. I've heard this several months ago that the president was going to do some executive changes on this, going to do some things to secure the border. But what I do hear is, how do we speed up the process, not stop the process, and secure the border? That's what bothers me, and that's what bothers a lot of us. What's going on right now, Connell, is trust. Do we have trust that this administration and 51% of Congress is going to secure the border? That's where the problem lies. And that's what we're seeking. That's what we're looking for, is a collective engagement to secure our border and then reform what we need to reform.
Okay, now specifically for you guys in Arizona, I want to talk about this bill we could put up the bill, securing the border bill. We have what's in HCR 2060, as they call it in Arizona. So is this kind of like Texas? I mean, or maybe there's some differences. I want to know if you personally support it. But state crimes, when you cross into the U.S., illegally, here it is, modeled after SB 4 in Texas, giving local law enforcement the power. And then at the bottom, it says Republicans are trying to pass this as a ballot measure 2024 in November. What about this? There's been some back and forth. I saw it might be stalling locally there a bit. What's the latest? Yeah,
lately they had it. I was in Phoenix today. I just left Phoenix. I'm in my car right now.
Yeah.
There's actually one state senator that's holding out right now because of the DACA component of that bill. And I always say this, too, when people ask me this. The reason we're even discussing that at a state level, the reason we're trying to intervene at a state level, because the federal government has abandoned it. And I hate to be so cold with that, but it's true. 3.5 years. I don't know where it's going to go, but the intent of the bill, the spirit of the bill, I support 100%. And as sheriffs have said in this state, to include myself, is the cost of this bill is going to be very costly to a state and local law enforcement to address it. I don't disagree, again, with the spirit, the intent of it. Yeah. How do we fund it?
Well, one of the things was, and maybe this is in the weeds, but you would know better than me, that there was some on the right that are upset because there's a provision that would not punish people that came in under the DACA program. Is that what's slowing it down? And if so, should that slow it down?
That is one component.
Okay.
It is slowing it down. The one holdout, the Arizona State Senate, I believe, have majority. The Republicans have majority by 1 vote. And that one senator is holding it back. So they didn't call for the vote yesterday. It's going to go to the vote next week. But the DACA component is what he's holding out on.
But you support it. You think overall it's a positive. Is it basically Texas, but it's a little Texas but different? How would you characterize it?
It's very, very similar than Texas. It has a fentanyl component to it.
Okay.
It has very similar. The difference is the Texas governor was part of authoring that bill. Our governor is not part of authoring this bill. So they have executive support in their state. I'm not sure our governor is going to support this. She vetoed a similar bill that came through the bill passage. So this is going to go to the people in the state of Arizona. Again, you can see the conflict already, the division within our own state. Right.
Some of it comes down to, racial profiling and questions like that. There was a local Arizona article that I was looking at earlier about this, where Republicans, this person said, it was an opinion piece, of course, they're not giving you the full story on this border bill. And the quote was, there's no such thing as an immigration crackdown without racial profiling, not in Arizona or anyplace else. Is that true?
I don't agree with that. That's a statement back from the SB 1070 era, where that was new. That was the defense back in SB 1070 back in 2010. This is a border bill to secure our border and keep people safe. If an agency, a law enforcement agency, if this bill does pass and it goes into effect, because we already have authority to check immigration status under SB 1070. That was one of the surviving points of SB 1070. So this is no different. It just gives us the enforcement component that goes with it. So I don't agree with that. But the agency's doing that racial profiling. Shame on that leader, sheriff, or police chief, and shame on the officers or deputies doing it.
Okay, we're going to continue to follow this, see where it goes from here. We thank you for the update, and we always thank you for coming on the show. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.